Number one is people have such a hard time letting go of the old yearbook approach to design. Way back, the old, because really, photography-based yearbooks really are relatively new. You might have some coming in the 40s, maybe a little bit earlier in that, but they were had a few pictures, some text, and that was it. And it really is the late 70s, the early 80s where you see design coming into play. I have a couple of great examples. Pocatello, Idaho, has a great set of yearbooks that go back into the 50s and even World War II with great themes and great writing, really trying to tell the story of the year. But I digress. The problem with yearbook design is there was the collage approach to design. Let's get as many photos as you can on a spread. Kind of what many junior high books looked like more recently. But let's get as many, let's don't worry about captions. It's photos, photos, photos. And especially now in the social media world, having a flood, a collage of photos isn't as significant, I don't think. I think the blending of design, photography, and writing are really important. And part of it is it's and I sort of cringe at this term a little bit, the idea of the journalistic yearbook. And I think the journalistic yearbook really dovetails right in with what's happening in design now. And so you have to learn the principles of design once you buy into design. You have to buy into the principles of in-depth coverage if you're going to do modern design. And so you start on this quest is how can we tell the story in a way that the reader wants to look at it? And my big principle of design is as a designer, you are driving the car and you want your audience to go on a journey with you as you look at your spread. So you're not just throwing stuff on the page, you are coming up with an approach that you're going to show them how to read each spread. Okay. That means you're going to have a dominant element. You want to tell them where to look first. Then you're going to include some kind of a catchy designed headline, not just the 36 point like we used to do, multi-deck headlines. Always going to have a subhead. Then you may have a longer set of copy. You might have a couple columns of text. Then one of the things that really changed in the yearbook world was about the year 2000. In the previous 10, 15 years, we might have had a sidebar, is what we called it. Then it became mods. And that really, there was a workshop in about 2000 where the whole mod concept started. And that really happened with InDesign and libraries in design, where you could develop a size of a mod and then be able to have multiples of those and put them around the spread. Okay, so you're taking your reader on this journey. Dominant, headline, writing, then maybe secondary coverage. One's going to have a little bit bigger headline, then it's going to drop in a little bit smaller, maybe a third one a little bit smaller. So you have this sense of hierarchy. And then the big change, the number one change of design in yearbooks in the past 20 years is the inclusion of white space used thoughtfully and with a purpose. You have white space to separate, white space to connect, white space to emphasize, and white space to guide you around the spread. So the difference between old yearbooks and new yearbooks is that they use that white space creatively to guide the reader around the page. And so if you don't have any white space, you really are clinging to a kind of a yearbook that is 30 years, 25 years out of step. So you've got to let go of the old way and think about this new way. Now, what people will call it now, which I kind of cringe at this too, is magazine design. Yes, all yearbook design now is true magazine design. More white space, you're emphasizing different elements. Photography is still king, still probably 65, 70% of the layout. So you got to have great photos, but you're blending and guiding your reader in a process of reading the spread. If you're just looking at it and you don't know what to do, it's not designed. I call it crap slapping. You don't want to be crap slapping. You want to design carefully with your audience in mind. And it's not as hard as you think. Um, every year, and this is one thing I was super proud of, every year of my 35 years, there was a designer in the room. I had to train them, I had to find them, and some I discovered were amazingly talented people. And so if you don't have a designer there, you're not looking hard enough. But this is another big thing about new advisors. Advisors. You can kind of fake the writing, you can find some good photography, but you have to become a student of great design. And I have, in my room here, I get to have 7,000 yearbooks. You need to go to your rep and say, give me your five best books that you think the design is happening, and become a student of what's going on here. And then you're going to find your way as an advisor. You have to be able to coach your designers. You have to say, not good enough. Let's try this. You can get it. You can make this happen. But I think we're stuck in the past with how we used to design. We're not thinking about secondary coverage as much, and we're certainly not using white space effectively. And I didn't throw this in. To train the new designers on use of white space, you have to use a grid. You have to use I used to do columns. In my era, we didn't do horizontal grids. It was all vertical columns. That was fine. Um, but you have to set up your page not on the document grid that's either on your proprietary software from your company or on InDesign. You have to have truly set up columns and margins so that you can control the space in between photos. You can control those rails of white space that allow you to guide your reader around the page. That's really the key.